What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor, FightfulWrestling.com. You know the drill. Day 3 wrap-up, did Day 1 and Day 2. Non-WWE stuff mainly. When I say Day 1, Day 2, Day 3 wrap-up, the main things we covered on the site were NXT Friday, ROH New Japan Saturday, WrestleMania today. So what we're doing is talking about the stuff otherwise. So we're going to talk Hall of Fame today. We're going to talk Janela Spring Break, Orange Cassidy show. A lot of that. This one won't be as long as the other ones, but leave a thumbs up. That stuff helps. Subscribe. We are on podcast platforms everywhere. I'm going to put together a full-on compilation of these on audio as well. But let's go ahead and get into it. WWE Hall of Fame was last night. By the way, Day 3 coverage. Hall of Fame was last night. It was good. It was much shorter. The setup was different. I enjoyed that. I like it. It needed to be that way. Honky Tonk Man was tamed, to say the least. Stacy Keibler being back, that was a nice touch, I thought. Tori Wilson, after all she's overcome, especially this week, that was good. Her speech was really good. Now, there's debate about whether or not she belongs in the Hall of Fame, and there's a lot of talk of her paving the way. And the way that I look at it when people say stuff like that, I'm like, would wrestling be around as we know it, or at least a style, if not for that person? I don't think Tori Wilson changed that much. However, what Tori Wilson changed was what a lot of people could do after wrestling. And she's very inspiring in that regard. I mean, my God, she's in better shape than most of the people you're going to see at WrestleMania. She made headlines for some of her stuff outside of WWE and has made a great career as for herself. I mean, a lot of people came to know her because of Alex Rodriguez, but I mean, she was a fitness instructor and had a really successful blog for a while. But is it a name that I would have picked? I don't know, but that's not for me to decide. It's for WWE to decide. And I thought her speech was outstanding. It was really, really good, as you would expect. I mean, she's always been good in that regard and very personable and likable. Harlem Heat, I'm going to accept any opportunity to listen to Stevie Ray talk. The man is great. Booker T, also great. A deserved two-time Hall of Famer in Booker T and a deserved Hall of Famer in Stevie Ray, one of the great tag teams of that era. Produced the Barber Beefcake, and he's a really good storyteller. Like his book, I've heard nothing but great things about. And Hulk Hogan, all right. I'm glad not everybody had inductors. I think it worked. Although I wouldn't have minded seeing somebody induct Harlem Heat. I don't think that everybody needed them. And that was a nice approach to take. Legacy Wing, Bruiser Brody, Wahoo McDaniel, SD Jones was a surprising one. Professor Toru Tanaka, Primo Carnera, Joseph Cohen, Hisashi Shinma, Buddy Rose, and Jim Barnett. All those interesting names. A lot of people were surprised that SD Jones was put in. But, I mean, if you're talking about nostalgia, he's got an action figure. He was on WrestleMania. Okay. Neat. Sure. Luna Vachon, very glad to see her in. I and many others thought that she probably deserved an individual induction, but if they're going to take that route and try to not have that, I don't know, that cloud of sadness over it, all right. Joseph Boza says, Tori left her mark in wrestling. She had a 10-year run, which is rare for women. But she showed women and men you can take your brand and still be relevant 10 years after you stepped away. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if she left her mark in wrestling per se, but she definitely left her mark after wrestling. The DX induction, it was good. It was long. It was mainly about Billy Gunn and X-Pac, and you had Triple H throw a few little shots at the rest of AEW about the executive vice president line and the Vince will buy that pissant company thing, which he can't do. I mean, the Khans have more money than him. This was a fun speech. China given a lot of respect, which I appreciate, and she should have, because she was a big part of that act, man. The act was good, but man, she was that glue. She was really important. She was good to have, and I'm glad that she was honored. Sue Aitchison, man, I just hear Sugar talked about that woman nonstop. A wonderful woman who has done all kinds of great things. John Cena inducting her. New York crowd always has trouble showing respect to people. See Maria Menounos inducting Bob Backlund. It ain't about you. Chill out with the chanting for people who aren't on that, man. I mean, far be it for me to tell somebody who paid to how to act, but hey, maybe don't run in and attack people, and don't chant shit at people when they're trying to induct somebody. Speaking of, we got a bunch of information on the Bret Hart attacker that is all over the website. Make sure you guys check it out. Let's hope that guy gets the help that he needs, because he definitely got the punishment he needed last night. Joey Janela's Spring Break 3. The greatest clusterfuck ended in a no contest. I was glad to see that Crime Time was in there, but there were a lot of people I had no clue who they were. It started out with Necro Butcher, who looks old, and Nick Gage. No Legs was in this one as well. Brian Pillman Jr. was in it. I like that. MJF showed up. Joey Ryan. There were a lot of pretty good names in there. JTG was in there. Crime Time being in the clusterfuck was good. They are underrated, and a lot of people poke fun at JTG because he held on to his job for so long and yada, yada, yada. But, man, they have good in-ring charisma, and I would like to see Crime Time get a run, to be honest with you. On the independent circuit, there are not a lot of tag teams out there, and I don't know how dedicated they are, but I would like to see it. Rich Swann in there. Marco Stunt, which we'll talk more about. Tony Deppen, who had the match with No Legs. By the way, Crowbar got eliminated real quick, which surprised me. Grizzly Redwood, a name that I hadn't heard in a while. He's in there. NWO Sting, Tracy Smothers, Mantar, Takada, Chris Dickinson, Ethan Page. Now, this ended in a no contest because a bunch of women run out and attack, like women from several shows, and bring a bunch of light tubes, and they all attack Jimmy Lloyd. Chris Dickinson gets in the ring, and he starts attacking them, but they overpower him, work him over. The women start taking apart the ring and attack referees, grab Joey Janela from backstage, beat him up in the ring, and then like a lost signal pops up. I don't know how I feel about it, man. I would have liked to have seen a finish, but if maybe it's setting up for something else. You can't always judge a Janela show to show. He's got plans. He does creative stuff. Glad to see several of those names in there. LAX defeated Rock and Roll Express. I'm glad LAX won. They are a premier tag team. Ricky Morton did a goddamn Canadian Destroyer, guys. What? Wow. Jungle Boy defeated Joey Janela. So Janela went 0-2 this weekend. 0-3 if you count him getting beat up at the clusterfuck in his own show. Jungle Boy getting a night. This is an AEW match, is what it was. It was an AEW match. So glad to see Jungle Boy get a win. He's been through a lot lately. LA Park and Masato Tanaka. Now, here's a fun fact. It was pitched, but didn't end up happening for this, and I think it should have, that as LA Park came out to the ring, Disco Inferno would run up behind him and hit him with a chair. Playing off of that GIF. I think that is hilarious. I wish that would have happened. He defeated Masato Tanaka. Cool. IWS Unstoppable. Not a lot you have to see there. You got Eric Cannon, Matt Tremont, Nick Gage, Rory Gulak, all in losing efforts. Solo Darling was in action. I thought she had an amazing weekend. She really got herself out there to a lot of people who might not have known who she was. Again, I got to put over Sarah Shockey's commentary, not for this show, but throughout the weekend. It was also very, very good. WrestlePro versus CZW went down. By the way, if y'all are asking me about Eli Drake and all that stuff, I'm doing a Q&A podcast this week on Fightful Select. Subscribe, ask unlimited questions. The CZW versus WrestlePro show now, I think that hurt a lot of the other hardcore shows. I mean, you got Matt Tremont there, and WrestlePro won the majority of these matches, at least on the surface, it seems. Anthony Bowens was there. He got beat by DJ Hyde. That's a pretty high-profile match for him. Fallah Bah defeated Anthony Green. Chris Stratlander defeated Layla Hirsch. Layla Hirsch is one to look out for, by the way. Mance Warner defeated Dan Moff to retain the CZW Heavyweight Championship. We had full coverage of that one as well. But the show I want to talk about is Orange Cassidy's show. Holy crap. This show was so good. This show was just a blast. Nick Gage beat Ultramantis Black in a Yuletide death match. It was a Christmas death match. That was funny. Session Moth Martina and Nate Webb, the two party characters, they went to a double drunken pass out. Session Moth Martina, great weekend for her. That was exactly what it needed to be. Now, Orange Cassidy, for you all who don't know, he's the world's laziest wrestler. And his match, or show rather, was called Orange Cassidy is Doing Something or Whatever. Who knows? And this was a bunch of matches that you didn't know how this was going to end up. Trent Barreta and Chuck Taylor had a 1-minute time limit match. It was phenomenal. They waited until the very, very end and locked up, and then the time was up, and the crowd chanted 5 more seconds. It was perfect. There was a best 7 out of 13 falls match, which went all of 8 minutes, and it worked. The Swamp Monster Lumberjack match that had Alley Cat and Shotzi Blackheart, Chris Stratlander, and Soraya Knight, and there were swamp monsters that were surrounding the ring. By the way, people coming in here trolling about WrestleMania tonight. We're not talking about WrestleMania right now. We'll talk about WrestleMania later. Hit the bricks. But the 5 o'clock somewhere drunken match between Session Moth Martina and Nate Webb was so much fun. And then you had an actual honest-to-God match in the middle of all this with, or not the middle, but Shinjiro Otani and Jonathan Gresham. Just 2 really good wrestlers, and Otani won. This show was so much fun. Also, there was Orange Cassidy who like hosted the event and was just like, okay. But one of my favorite things about this show was, sorry, I'm getting a little distracted here, was Teddy Hart coming out and talking about what wrestling is and reading a book. And he had his cats with him. And I thought Teddy Hart's approach was great. He was like, man, this is wrestling. Everything is wrestling. The dodgeball match was wrestling. The 7 out of 13 falls is wrestling. Otani and Gresham is wrestling. It isn't wrestling. Or otherwise, you're watching UFC or you're watching amateur wrestling. As they say, it is a show about wrestling. Let yourself be entertained. That was a lot of fun. That was just really good stuff. And there was a dodgeball match that was supposed to happen. And it didn't. And the crowd was not happy. It was Faye Jackson and Veda Scott as captains picking all these people. And basically, MJF didn't get picked. And he got mad. He took his ball and went home, and they had to have an actual wrestling match. It got wrestling sucks chants. And we went dodgeball. That was great. That was great. Team Faye Jackson won. Faye Jackson said, "Fuck Stokely Hathaway and fuck you too, bitch." That was really good. MJF would make an appearance later and get sent into thumbtacks after the Gage Ultramantis Black match. And then they had the 3rd annual JanSport Backpack Orange Cassidy Invitational Scramble. Jigsaw won that. This show was a lot of fun. There were a lot of great shows this weekend. Bloodsport was amazing. The WrestleCon Super Show was amazing. Janela Spring Break, amazing. NXT, great. The Ring of Honor New Japan show, pretty damn good. The Orange Cassidy show, unbelievably fun. Janela Spring Break, really fun too. There were 7 shows I would recommend that you guys watch this weekend. And hopefully over the last 3 days, we've done a good job covering it for you guys. Leave us a thumbs up, subscribe. We're here for WrestleMania. I'm going to be on SB Nation Radio tonight, ESPN Radio. Check us out. Subscribe.